Good evening and welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about the Gavin and Stacey finale that happened many months ago, but I've just started my channel, so I believe there might be a bit of leeway in regards to talking about this. So 25th of December, Gavin and Stacey, big hype, let's go. 17 years since the first episode came out. I was absolutely in awe of it. I enjoyed the 3 seasons. I loved every Christmas special, but I was thinking, can it rekindle the magic that it had? Had times moved on? Was the writing going to be as good? And how will it end? Because there was numerous interviews with James Corden and Ruth Jones, and they were saying this is going to be the last one, we're going to end it, and this is how it's going to go. So the previous Christmas special, we were left in limbo with Nessa proposing to Smithy. And what I enjoyed about this Gavin and Stacey thing was that they knew that Gavin and Stacey had ended that storyline. Gavin and Stacey had ended after 3 seasons. There was nowhere really for the 2 characters, Gavin and Stacey, to go. They had got married in the first season. They had various different trials and tribulations, buying the house, where were they going to live, and it essentially had sewn up all of its storylines that we were thinking, oh, that's great, season 3, that's it, finished now. And then we had the Christmas episode where essentially we had moved on from Gavin and Stacey. They had kids, they had the idyllic life, they were enjoying life. We had Mick and Pam, who were so proud of them, and then we have Smithy and Nessa. And I love the way this has come in Smithy and Nessa. I think they were the 2 strongest characters throughout it. They were the funniest. They were probably the characters that people would go, oh, I know a Smithy, I know, not so much a Nessa, but I know a Smithy. Kind of like a bouncy, charismatic lad that always makes an entrance, always has these kind of great one-liners, and just a fun person to be around, but very emotional at times as well. So getting into the Christmas special, I have a few notes here because I wanted to talk about a few things, but obviously not everything. First thing I've ticked off is the story arc. So there's going to be spoilers moving on from this. So I just thought the story arc was perfect. I thought the way it ended, the previous Christmas special with the proposal, and now we've moved on to essentially the Smithy proposing to Nessa at the end of this episode. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. The wedding was great because obviously we had that iconic line of, I already met someone better than you 17 years ago in Leicester Square. And it just allowed all the fans of the show that have followed it throughout the 17 years to go, wow, we remember their meeting. We remember Smithy being very offish. We remember Nessa being offish, you know. He's from England, this is what's wrong with him, sharing a pizza, and then they end up getting married. And that was just a great story arc from the very start of the initial meeting to then them 2 getting married. And then typical kind of Nessa / Smithy way of, it was a registry office, and then they just had the pub, and it wasn't this lavish thing that essentially Smithy was going into at the start. So I thought the story arc of the whole show was fantastic. And like I said previously, that whole Gavin and Stacey narrative was over after series 3. And they were smart enough to create these Christmas episodes and also allow us to have the happy ending that was Nessa and Smithy. Nessa and Smithy obviously have had a rough ride with it. There was the unplanned pregnancy where Neil, the baby, was born. And I just love the things of this episode, the Christmas episode, and past things of fans who have followed the whole series. So we had the corn on the cob, we had Smithy sleeping in the bath like he did whenever he had to do the tiles for one of the residents that he had. There was you know, the names, Dirtbox, Chinese Alan, Fingers. We had various different things that were going on that were very reminiscent of previous episodes, and they brought in the whole cast. Everyone was there from the very first episode to the last episode, and that was just a great thing as well, where it was reuniting everyone, and it just felt like a great farewell to the show. The magic of the series, obviously, I've talked about kind of the comedy element to it. Obviously, we have such iconic things as Lambuna, Chicken Boona, Smithy's Order. We have Oi, Nessa. Them kind of things were great. Neil, the baby. You know, Dave, your riddle down there. We just had so many iconic things, and the writing is a huge compliment to this through James Corden and Ruth Jones, where we had these everyday people who had these characters that were just so stand out. Everyone was good. We had characters like Pam and Mick who were fantastic. Their relationship was fantastic. And then on the opposite end, we had Dawn and Pete, who were kind of the polar opposite of the Mick and Pam relationship. They hated each other, didn't get on, but they were in love with each other, while Mick and Pam kept that chemistry going throughout the many years that they were married, and they had that Prince Charles Camilla thing, which was hilarious. We had Gavin and Stacey, which I felt was like kind of the more steady kind of people in it, the more normal people, the more measured people throughout it. Obviously, Stacey did melt me at times, where she got very emotional at moments, where she just fell out with him, wouldn't ring him back, all that kind of stuff, which I thought, geez, that is a melt for Gavin. But yeah, them, Nessa, and Nessa's character probably is my favourite character. I just thought she was so well done. Ruth Jones made it just so iconic, the way she had all them taglines, and I love the bit, and I didn't realise this, it had to take kind of watching TikTok, where Nessa talks about kind of her never getting married, her just being alone, it didn't work out with Dave, and then the cut then to Smithy proposing. I was like, oh, what a great little thing that's happened there. So throughout the episode, we had great little moments. We had Dawn and Pete constantly arguing with each other. We have Mick and Pam's chemistry. But the 3 points I want to bring up is essentially Mick's speech about whenever him and Pam, they couldn't have another child. Gavin obviously brought home Smithy whenever he was 7 years old. And there was this beautiful speech that Mick had done, and I thought it was just delivered so well by Larry Lamb, where you're just going, Jesus Christ, I feel like, this is a tough moment for him to speak about this, and how lovely it is for him to go, Smithy, you are part of our family. And then we had the next moment then of obviously Smithy and Nessa talking about Neil the baby, and that was the first time we seen the vulnerabilities of Nessa and how upset she was getting with Smithy getting married, and also kind of Neil moving on with his life and feeling alone. And I was like, that's just two like really beautiful moments for a show that's just filtered with lots of comedic moments. But I just thought this is just like such a heartwarming way to end the show. And then obviously the ending, where it was Gavin speaks up, everyone's kind of standing up going, you shouldn't marry her, you'd be better apart, all that kind of stuff. And then Smithy just turns to Mick and goes, Mick? And he just stood up then, and then he was like, okay, I can't marry her because Mick said. And I was like, wow, that's like the father figure that Smithy, because we never see if Smithy's had a father, if he's has a relationship with them. And it was just like, wow, this is like so cool, the way Mick's talked about Smithy being his son, and Smithy's always wanted guidance from it. And then rewatching the show, because I ended up rewatching the full 3 series or all that Christmas special for this, I was like, I forgot completely about Smithy asking Mick for advice various moments throughout the show. And I was like, that's the strength of this whole show, where it's the writing and the genius of Ruth Jones and James Corden in regards to writing this and being able to create this beautiful little world amongst 2 families from Billericay and also Barry Island. And I was just like, once the wedding happened between Smithy and that picture at the end, I was like, wow, you've just sealed up it beautifully. And I know it's so tough to end a TV series. It's so tough to kind of be done with something, but I think they just wrapped it up perfectly, and I was just so happy at the end of watching it. So that's my breakdown of kind of Gavin and Stacey, the TV series, and also the finale. So thank you for watching.